Today's gospel, you will hear it more fully on Sunday. So this is just a kind of a preface to the Sunday's gospel. But just to give you a little bit of background, it takes place in the upper room. Jesus is with his disciples. He had just washed their feet and gave them this new commandment of love. Love one another as I have loved you. And then he says, my children, I will be with you only a little while longer. And you will look for me, and as I told the Jews, where I go, you cannot come. So now I say to you. And then Jesus goes on and he predicts the denial of Peter. And this kind of puts the context of today's passage into place. And then now we hear what I think is some of the most powerful and consoling words of Jesus spoken. Do not let your hearts be troubled. The apostles were deeply troubled that he was leaving them. And so these beautiful words assured them that he would always be with them, obviously through faith. And he wants us to know the same, that he will always be with us for people who live in faith, that he never leaves us. And he knows all that we suffer. He knows all that we're going through, and he cares for us. Remember what I said in an earlier homily, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, that the Father feels responsible for us, each and every one of us, not just as a people, but as individuals, uniquely. So these words, I think, are important for many people right now. You know, the evil of this COVID-19 virus has them feeling their worst. Loved ones are sick, and they're alone and feeling isolated. Many people are dying alone without their loved ones by their side. Others can't attend a funeral of a family member because the numbers are limited. People who are healthy feel isolated from having to stay at home, or they're living in fear of contracting the virus. Healthcare workers, these many heroes working on the front lines, are feeling overwhelmed across the country. Churches are closed. People are suffering for not being able to receive the sacraments. And the list goes on and on and on. Many things weigh heavy on people's hearts today. Many things. And it seems like the end is so far away. But Jesus says to each one of us, do not let your hearts be troubled. You have faith in God, have faith also in me. And then Jesus goes on, he tells us that he has prepared a place for us, like each one of us, so that where he is, we also may be. This is quite a promise from our Lord, no? Who assures us we will have a personal place particularly prepared for us. Such a deep love. Such a deep love. Think about that. This is how the Lord loves each and every one of us. That place is prepared already for us in heaven. But I think it is also already in his heart, that resting place of love and mercy that we can have right now. He wants us to rest in his heart, his sacred heart, right now. And he says, we know the way. He says, we know the way. And if we don't know the way, then he tells us, he says, I am the way and the truth and the life. This clear answer from Jesus serves as a guiding principle for people in every age. When we feel lost, he is the way. When we are in darkness, he is the light. When we are confused, he is the truth. You know, when I was reflecting on this gospel, a song came to mind. And you're all familiar with it. I don't know, Ryan, you want to play this? I'm just kidding. Yeah, the bridge over troubled water, right? Simon and Garfunkel. When you are weary, feeling small, when tears are in your eyes, I will dry them all. I am on your side when times get rough and friends just can't be found. Like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. When you're down and out, when you're on the street, when evening falls so hard, I will comfort you. I'll take your part. When darkness comes and pain is all around, like a bridge over troubled water, I will lay me down. Jesus is the bridge over this troubled water in which we are experiencing today. And he has laid himself down on the cross for us for times just like these. Death and sickness, isolation, economic suffering, these are real evils in our world today. These are real evils. And with confidence in the resurrection, while we have confidence in the resurrection and it cannot fully detach us from suffering these evils should not smother our confidence in the resurrection. While hope in the resurrection does not, at least for the time being, displace our momentary distress, this hope can soften it because Jesus is the way. He's that bridge over these troubled waters, and he has laid himself down on the cross for times just like these, and he has been raised from the dead. In the words of St. Augustine, he says this, for us who claim to be or call ourselves Christians, he says, Christians are not spared suffering. Indeed, they must suffer a little more. They must suffer a little more because to live the faith expresses the courage to face in greater depth the problems that life presents. But only in this way, through the experience of suffering, can we know life in its profundity, in its beauty, and in the great hope born from Christ crucified and risen again. You know, there is an intimacy with Jesus in our suffering in such a way that it's redeeming and life-giving. Friends, our suffering is never alone. Never alone. We have that bridge over troubled water. He is the way, the truth, and the life. Allow me to leave you with these words. Every suffering is a new window open to reality. Let's not close the window until we see all that is there to see. Because in the end, we will see only goodness and love. We will see peace and joy. And we will not only see, but we will experience mercy and redemption. So do not let your hearts be troubled. Happy Easter. The tomb is empty. He has risen.